Hi guys, welcome back. Today we'll be taking a look at some of the Hong Kong stocks. Before we begin, remember to take a second to give the video a like and subscribe as you really help out the channel. Without further ado, let's first start off with the Hang Seng Index. So the Hang Seng Index started a week near the high. However, we saw 4 days of continuous selling. On the very first day, it seems like the gap was being closed. However, there was more selling pressure on Tuesday to Thursday. Fortunately, on the Friday, because of good results from Alibaba and Baidu, it managed to lift up the entire index. Looking at its support levels, you can see that this red baseline and this blue convergence line act as a strong support, and it's currently sitting at around 20235 and also 20342. And for the first time, you can see that it is indeed quite promising, as because when the blue line cut the red line from below, then that is a good sign, and there may be some potential upswing ahead. And it has not crossed since sometime in mid-April. So that is a good sign for now. Moving on, let's take a look at some of its resistance. You can see that this 2484 was crossed on Friday, and the next resistance we'll be looking at will be at 2839, followed by retesting the high of 21291, which is this recent high here where we face some rejection due to many sellers around. However, that said, there's also a 200-point gap that needs to be closed. So maybe on Monday or even Tuesday, this gap may be closed. And hopefully, this strong support here, this strong support here, you can see that it was being tested once and twice. This strong support at 19890, it is supported. If we do break down, then we may see more selling pressure at around 19677, or even retest the lows of 19178. So let's move on to the Hang Seng Tech Index. So the Hang Seng Tech Index, you can see that we did not manage to close above the 61.8% at 4225. In fact, we went close to it, but we did not close above it. But thankfully, we managed to close above this red and blue conversion line. In fact, it's just sitting on it. You can see that this day low hit it at around 4133 and 4135 around these levels here, and it coincides with this 50% Fibonacci support at 4135. So the next resistance that we'll be watching and needs to cross will be 4225 followed by 4353. If you're able to cross these two resistance, then we can test the highs of 4515. That said, there's also a 100-point gap here that needs to be closed. So Monday and Tuesday we may pull back down to test and close this gap. Strong supports to watch would be this particular low here. This particular low cannot break down, which is currently at 3961. If we break down, then 3935 will be tested before we testing the lows of 3755. And hopefully we do not see these lows once again. Let's move on to some of its components. Let's start off with the Tencent. So Tencent, you can see that after it's announced its results, it was significantly weaker. It's still below this blue conversion line and also this red baseline. And this is currently sitting at 352 and also 356. So this will act as a very, very strong resistance for Tencent. It was faced 4 days of continuous selling, followed by the last day where we actually moved back up to actually close some of its gap. That's it. The resistance to watch will be 349, 354, 359. Do expect a lot of resistance here, and there's also a cloud resistance here. We have been rejecting the cloud of 2 times already. This is the first time, this is the second time. So there may be a chance for a third time, unless we are able to punch back up. So if we are able to punch back up, we have to cross this 366 and also 375 for more upside ahead. If not, it's likely to be down, and that will not be a good sign because Tencent is a heavy component of the index, and the index will likely to be dragged down as well. Similarly, you can see that there's a lot of support coming in around 330 zones. Buyers are supporting these levels. However, if we do break down, then this 322 will be threatened. Let's move on to Alibaba. So because of its good results, you can see that it actually gap up on this particular Friday at around, if I'm not wrong, it was about 10% or even more. However, there was actually a gap created, so nothing too happy about because this gap may be eventually closed one day. And currently, as you can see, the trend is obviously still down. So long as we do not punch up, then it's likely for us to continue remaining bearish for the short term. Unless we are able to go back up, then potentially there is a chance for us for trend reversal. As of now, this gap has been created here, and this gap currently stands at the low is 89.85 and the high is 82. So this is about $7 to $8 gap that needs to be closed. You can see that on this particular Friday, we were rejected off this red baseline, and it's currently sitting at around 91.73. This blue conversion line is acting as a strong support at $86. So it's likely for us to pull back to test this $86 or even close the gap at $82. However, if we do punch up and continue to move up, then the resistance to watch will be 94.55, 98.65, and hopefully we can retest the high at 103.80 above the $100 psychological support or resistance rather. Well, if we do break down this 79.65 after we close this gap, then that is not a good sign. We may potentially head down to the lows once again at around low 70s, which is definitely not what we want. So hopefully after the gap has been closed, we can continue with our momentum. Let's move on to Meituan. So Meituan, not much of a change. There was also a selling pressure on the first 4 days of the week, followed by a relatively good close. However, we did not close above this 61.8%, 165, and this 170.7 was not even tested at all. So this 178 still remains as a potential short-term target for Meituan. We did found some support above its blue conversion line. In fact, we closed just above it, and it's at 164. And hopefully, if we do go down further, this rate baseline 154 do hold as well. You can see that on this particular Thursday, there was some support coming in at this level here, and at 152 it was well supported. So long as this 150 is well supported, then Meituan will not continue to slide further. If we were to continue to slide further, then hopefully this 144 will also hold as well. 144 do not hold, then 131.9, but it's unlikely for us to slide so far down unless the whole index were to collapse or there's some bad news coming up. Move on to NetEase. So NetEase, like I said, is a very strong counter. We managed to support at 50% at 132 once, twice, and then we continue going up. So this 61.8%, 158 has really been crossed, but there's also a gap here. This gap is somewhere at around 157 to 160. So there's a $3.3 gap that needs to be closed one day. So hopefully if we do manage to go back down and close this gap, previous resistance can turn into support, and then we can continue up higher. Next resistance to watch will be 171.7, and of course there is also you can see that there is some rejection of here, and there's a lot of sellers around this level here at around 165. So do note that there may be some pressure and selling pressure at this from 165 to a high of 172. A lot of sellers around here, so do expect some profit taking and even some downsides perhaps in next week for the gap to be closed. Let's move on to NIO 9866. So NIO, after a listing in SGX, it sort of collapsed down. 4 days of continuous selling once again, and the next day it managed to close just above its blue conversion line at 124.4. So the next key resistance that needs to be cleared is 129.9, which coincides with this rate baseline. It's currently sitting at 130.4. So if we do cross it, then 137.8 is within reach before we retest the highs of 147.9. Support to watch will be this particular low here on this Thursday, which was just about 2 days ago. So this low is currently at 114.0. If we do not break down, then this 112 will not be tested. So let's move on to the next particular stock, which is Baidu. In fact, it announced good results, but you can see that this candle on Friday was not looking too good. In fact, as it was on the way up to the cloud acted as a pretty strong resistance as well. So that said, there is also a very large gap that was created somewhere between 118 low to a high of around 131. So do expect that this very large gap of around $10 to $12 may be closed one day someday. And currently this baseline is at 119.3, while this blue conversion line is at 123.7. So we may potentially pull back to these levels here at around 119 to 123 levels. If we do go up, then 136.8 will be our temporary target before retesting the highs of 145 and hopefully 157. But that is still quite far away. Key support to not break down will be this particular low here on Wednesday. So this low at 113.1 cannot break down. If not, we'll test this 111, and hopefully not test this 104.2. So let's move on to AIA. So AIA, actually not much movement for the week. We actually closed near the start of the week. So 61.8% is still below. We still managed to close below it, and it's closed at 79.25, facing some cloud resistance here. There's also cloud resistance here, and also this cloud resistance here. So long as we're not able to punch up, then we're likely to consolidate somewhere between these levels here, unless we have some external power to cross this cloud resistance. If we do cross it, then 81.65 will be our next temporary target before we testing the highs of 84.40. Looking at these supports here, you can see that this support is currently at 78.05, and also this rate baseline is at 76.38. So these two cannot break down for more upside ahead. Not forgetting, there is also a small gap here that needs to be closed, and this gap is currently at around $74 to a high of around $74.95. So it's around a $1 gap. May be closed one day if we were to pull back down further. So let's move on to PingAn 2318. So PingAn actually has not much movements for the day and also for the week. It seems pretty bearish if you look at me. If you ask me, you can see that there's a double bottom here, but we did not spring up compared to a stock like Baidu. You can see that after this double bottom, we managed to spring up quite well, perhaps due to the good earnings. So I'm not exactly sure when is PingAn earnings coming up. So it seems like it's projected to come at around 1st of June. And if we were to continue looking at sideways movement, I'm afraid that the results may not be too good. So this support here at 47.58 on this blue conversion line is currently acting as a strong support. Resistance to watch will be this key resistance at 50.38. If we do break out, then this will be a key resistance to watch, and many sellers will appear at these levels here. Next resistance to watch for the next week will be 48.50, 49.35, and 50.20. These three resistances are very critical to watch, and thereafter we have this very thick cloud resistance for us to actually go through. So nothing much to cheer about for this counter. Let's move on to Xiaomi Corporation. So Xiaomi 1810, actually not much movement for the week. You can see that it actually consolidated sideways and there was not much movement. So we managed to close above the 61.8% at 11.48, so that's a good thing. So next week, hopefully we can retest the high of 11.82 and go back above $12 to test the recent high at 12.22. And there's a very strong cloud resistance at around 12 to 13.50. So do expect a lot of resistance if we do punch up at these levels for this particular counter. You can see that this blue conversion line and this red baseline is currently sitting at this particular level here at around 11.35, 11.36, this level. So this is very critical for it to not break down. If we were to break down this $11 key psychological support, then I'm afraid this counter may start creating lower lows, and even this 10.30 may be threatened as well. Hopefully we can get a double bottom if we were to break down all the way to these 10.30 levels. Hopefully we also can continue to punch up to hit $13 or even $14 for this counter. So that's all for the week for these Hong Kong stocks. As of now, because of Baidu and Alibaba results, it seems quite promising, but not forgetting the trend is still down. So long as the trend is still down and we do not break out, then it's unfortunately for us to continue with the higher highs or even higher lows. So long as we do not start creating higher highs and higher lows, then it's likely for us to remain bearish and to remain in the downtrend channel. So hopefully next week, there's more good catalyst for us to continue our momentum up. And we only can hope for the best and expect the worst. So if there's any changes, I'll give you guys an update. Thanks for stopping by. Till we meet again, appreciate the manipulation.